Hello guys, thank you so much for coming back to watch another video on my channel. I know, I've been busy with work and my well-being because I wanted to get fit and been focusing on myself and couldn't make a video, so I do really apologize for that. So what a perfect way to start making the videos again on my channel. So Silent Hill 2 Remake, which has been on limbo, where that game is, let's find out. Should we be or shouldn't be worried about this game? Now before I start this video, I just want to say thank you to you guys who stayed and subscribed to my channel. You are the reason as to why I came back and I wanted to make these videos, because that gives me motivation and it supports me to keep making the content, and it shows me that my content is good enough for you guys so you can watch it more. Now if you're newbie to this channel, do make sure to subscribe and stick around because I'll continue to make these videos. I do cover quite a lot of horror genres, so if that's your type, then make sure to stick around and you would enjoy my content. It's free of cost anyway, it doesn't cost you anything. Now let's get back to the topic of Silent Hill 2 Remake. That's the game which I've been waiting for a long time. This game is a remake of the most beloved horror game which is very dear to my heart, and that game came out in 2002. Now if I remember correctly, everyone was so excited when Konami actually cared about Silent Hill franchise by announcing this transmission where they announce all these Silent Hill games, and among those lists there was a Silent Hill 2 Remake which got a lot of people very excited for it. Even though we found out the Bloober team is actually working on it, which a lot of people didn't buy into it, but personally for me, I think that was a big win for Konami to bring a lot of the fans to the Silent Hill franchise, which we knew it was almost dead. No one actually cared about Silent Hill games since Silent Hill PT, which was Kojima was working with Konami at that time. However, the game then went silent and people were wondering if what Bloober team is doing with this game, because they haven't made any announcement. We haven't seen any gameplay footage. There's a snippet of 1 or 2 seconds from that trailer which they showed, which doesn't show us how the gameplay is going to work. And there's so many questions we have about this game which hasn't been answered either by Konami or Bloober team. Now if you're one of those gamers who are actually worried about this Silent Hill 2 Remake, you're not wrong to be, because of what has been going on more specifically with the gaming industry. There's a lot of games which has been announced but we've never seen them, we've never seen a release date, and they've been delayed indefinitely with games like Beyond Evil 2 and many other games. And also looking at the track record from Konami themselves and what they did with Kojima and in the games in general, and even if you look at Bloober team's games, they were in the greatest games of all times. So people know and what they're expecting from Bloober team, which is rightly so for a lot of people to think that way and be worried about this remake. And there's a lot of hate out there if you find it on the internet. However, I do think differently, because I personally think that we shouldn't be worried about Silent Hill 2 Remake. Here's the reason as to why. Because I think Silent Hill 2 Remake is getting handled by Bloober teams. Now if you watch their video when they did Silent Hill Transmission, they talked about how much they cared about Silent Hill 2 Remake and how much that game made an impact on them as being a big developer. I know that's more like an advertisement, it's more PR stuff. However, I do believe to what they're saying, because if you play their games, the games do deal with a lot of psychological horror compared to a more gore horror or just a horror in general. So it makes more sense that it takes a lot of inspiration from Silent Hill games. And yes, I do disagree with their execution with a lot of subgenres they touched on in the previous games. However, I do think that they understand, because the keyframe is there for them, which they have to use. And as I mentioned in my previous Silent Hill 2 Remake videos, trying to justify, trying to defend, and I'm not getting paid for it, but here's I personally think that they could do a better job with this game, because remember, this game was dead and no one was actually working on it. And remember, that game is literally one of the best horror games, or the best horror game out there. So even if anyone makes a remake about this game, people are still going to be worried about, because that game is very dear and very close to a lot of people who've played that game since 2002. Now recently they made a tweet where they talked about, and someone asked them a question about Silent Hill 2 Remake, and they said they're going to announce this game when this game is ready, not before, not after, and it's all down to Konami to make a decision, which makes sense because they still own the rights to the game. And I think that's a perfect response, because rather than sugarcoating it or trying to make it look like, look, we're making the biggest game of all time, even better than the original game, they're not. They're just saying the game is not ready. When it's ready, we will unveil it to the public, and it's all down to Konami. And Konami knows how much people are now genuinely excited and dying to hear about this game, because just looking at the numbers on the trailers, reactions and views, it's been a massive success for them. Now, I don't blame Bloober team for taking their time with the game, because I'd rather them take their time and show us a product when it's ready. Whether that takes 1 year, 2 years, I'm glad that they're even making that remake, which I wasn't expecting that's ever going to happen, and they're now doing it. But we just need to be more patient with them, because remember, we have seen scenarios where we've seen unfinished games like Cyberpunk in the very early stages, and even the massive companies out there, they release those games. Even look at Starfield right now. It's not a great game. It's a good game, but it's not the greatest game. And that's what happens when you release a game when it's not ready, and when you force them. And when you force them, that's when you expect disappointment. And I don't want to get that from a game which I loved it so much. And I want to enjoy this game in the form of a remake. However, I don't think they will delay it any longer, because it's almost been a whole year now, and we have a Tokyo Game Show which is coming out in September, and we're going to have a season around Halloween, and that's the perfect time to announce your games, because people buy a lot of horror movies or horror games or horror TV shows, and they tune in. And I think Tokyo Game Show, because Capcom is going to do that with their Resident Evil game or the upcoming Resident Evil title, whatever that's going to be. I also think there might be another Silent Hill transmission where they might show us the footages or new trailers for the same games they've announced last year, which I think would be a clever idea from their part to do it. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my opinion? Are you worried about this Silent Hill 2 remake, as the amount of time it's taken and there's no announcement, no gameplay footage? Or are you with me on this and kind of waiting on this game to happen and want Bloober team to do the justice with a remake? So please do let me know in the comment section down below in this video. So that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you again with another video. Until then, have a good one.